Hey guys, how are you today? Quick rant before we dive into today's chaos. As some of you might have noticed, YouTube's algorithm has decided I'm not special anymore. Shocking, I know. So now if you don't like, comment, or do a little backflip in the algorithm's honor, this video might just vanish into the void, never to be seen again. Seriously though, even a hi or "this is wild" in the comments helps way more than you think. It tells YouTube, hey, people actually like this channel. Maybe don't hide it from everyone. That can really help push my videos out to a wider audience, not just to my subscribers. So if you enjoy these stories and want to support the channel, that's the best way to do it. Now grab a drink, get comfy, and enjoy the drama. You won't want to miss this one. I'm 50 years old now. I was raised by my dad, a good, honest, hardworking man. He raised me completely on his own after my biological mother left when I was just a baby. I've known about her my whole life. My dad never lied. He told me the truth in simple terms. She was 18 when she got pregnant, and she didn't want to be a mom. She came from a family that was obsessed with money and appearances, and my dad was a poor kid from a working-class background. She wanted something else for her life, and I wasn't part of that plan. So she left. She moved across the country and never looked back. My dad told me that she wanted to marry rich and live a certain kind of life. I guess that was more important to her than being a mother. He said he heard she got her wish, that she married a wealthy businessman in California and had 2 daughters with him. I never met her, never heard from her. No birthday cards, no calls, no letters. Not even when my dad died. I spent most of my life not caring, or at least telling myself I didn't. My dad was everything to me. He gave up everything for me, and never once acted like it was a burden. He worked 2 jobs, made all my school lunches, helped with homework, and taught me how to be a decent man. I never went without love. Still, after he passed away, I started thinking more about her. Not because I missed her, I didn't know her, but because I realized she was probably still out there, alive, and I had questions. One day last year, I was scrolling through news articles and came across a name that jumped out at me. Her name. Same first name, new last name. The article said she was in poor health and had made some philanthropic donations in the past, and they included a photo of her. It was definitely her. She looked old, obviously, but the resemblance was there. It hit me hard. For the first time, I was looking at the face of the woman who decided I wasn't worth knowing. I thought about it for days. I talked to my wife. I talked to my adult son. Eventually, I decided to reach out. I found a contact listed through a hospital foundation mentioned in the article and sent a very respectful message. I explained who I was, that I didn't want to cause any trouble. I just wanted to meet her, even just once. She replied, eventually. The message was cold. She said she had no interest in reopening the past and had her own family now. She said my reaching out would only make things more complicated. Still, she agreed to meet me in a public place for an hour. We met at a fancy cafe in Southern California. She was dressed well. Expensive dress, expensive shoes. She looked put together, like she had money. She sat down and got straight to the point. She didn't ask anything about my life. Didn't ask about my dad, who raised me. Didn't ask if I had a family. She just said she didn't understand why I was there and hoped I wasn't expecting anything. She made it clear that whatever wealth she had was going to her daughters, her real family, I guess, and that she wasn't interested in people from her past coming around hoping for a payout. I told her again I didn't want anything from her, but it didn't seem to matter. She assumed I was there for money. It was clear she didn't care about getting to know me. She had no interest in my childhood, my father, or anything that happened to me after she walked away. I decided to wrap it up. I stood to leave, disappointed, but not surprised. Right then, my phone buzzed. My son had come to pick me up. He came into the cafe. He's in his 30s, very recognizable in our state. He's in politics, young, charismatic, and has been making a name for himself. He's been in the news a lot lately. If you follow local or state news, you've probably seen his face. My mother's entire attitude changed the moment she saw him. She looked at him, then at me, and realized who he was. She recognized him. Her face changed instantly, suddenly warm, smiling, curious. She wanted to talk more. She wanted him to sit down. She asked if we could all stay and talk a bit longer. It was like a switch flipped. She didn't care about me. She only cared once she realized that my son was someone important. Now I wasn't just the kid she left behind. I was the father of someone well-known, someone successful, someone she could brag about, maybe. That was the moment I realized the truth. She hadn't changed. She left my dad and me because we didn't fit the life she wanted. And now, decades later, she only cared because she saw something she could use, someone she could associate with. I told my son we were leaving and we walked out. That night, she emailed me, long message, suddenly full of warmth. She said she was so glad we met and would love to meet again. She said maybe I could bring my son next time, and maybe we could all plan something together. She even said her daughters would be so excited to meet him. No apology, no mention of the way she treated me. Just excitement about the fact that she realized she had a connection to someone impressive. I didn't respond. Since then, I've had people ask if maybe I was too harsh, if maybe I should be happy that she came around at all, that at least she's trying now. But I know what I saw. She didn't care about me. She still doesn't. She only cared when she saw my son, someone she could be proud of, someone she could show off. I didn't go there for money or revenge. I went for closure, and I got it. So, am I the a-hole for walking out and never responding after my bio mother only showed interest once she realized who my son was? Not the a-hole. OP's mom didn't just abandon OP once. She did it twice. First when she walked out on a newborn baby and a man who stepped up, and again when OP sat across from her 50 years later and she treated him like a potential problem instead of her child. She didn't ask about OP's life, his dad, OP's family. She was only interested the second she saw OP's son and realized he could elevate her social image. That's not love. That's opportunism. Honestly, walking away was the most dignified thing OP could have done. OP's father would have been proud of how OP handled it. And now let's hear community's opinion. I'm actually sick reading this. She chose to leave. She chose to never check in. And when you, the child she never wanted, finally found the courage to meet her, she basically treated you like a potential gold digger. But when she realized you were the father of someone successful, suddenly she wants to reconnect? Nope. That woman is not your mother. Your dad was both parents in one. She had decades to show basic human decency. She only showed interest when she thought she could benefit. You owe her nothing, not the a-hole 1,000 times over. This made my blood boil. I'm a mom. I couldn't imagine abandoning my baby for any reason, let alone to chase money and status. And even if she regretted it later, which she clearly didn't, the least she could have done was show compassion when you finally came to meet her. But no, she treated you like a threat to her perfect little life, until your son walked in. Then she saw an opportunity. I'm glad you walked out. She made her bed decades ago. She doesn't get to crawl back into your life now just because your kid is someone she can brag about. You handled that better than most people would have. You didn't yell. You didn't make a scene. You didn't go in looking for revenge. You showed up like an adult seeking closure. And what did she do? She insulted you, dismissed your existence, and tried to cover it with fake warmth when she realized your son had value. To her. That's not a mom. That's someone who sees people as stepping stones. Not the a-hole. You didn't need her apology. You already got your answer. And walking away without another word was more powerful than anything you could have said. I absolutely know that if I tell my dad, he'll not only call me an a-hole, but he'll accuse me of ruining his happiness, although my sister is fully on my side. Okay, so I'm 27 female, and my dad is 62 male. His new girlfriend is 54 female. They've known each other for 2, maybe 3 months. I've posted about this in the past, but it didn't get much traction, and there's a fire lit under me, so I feel that I have to post about it again. My dad doesn't have much money, but between paying for this woman's phone bill, her family plan for her and her grown kids, $300 a month. She spent $700 behind his back on his debit card. He's given her $1,000 for her rent, etc. In less than 3 months, my dad's probably lost $3,000 to $4,000 helping this woman. The cherry on top is she won't move in with him unless he buys her a car first. He asked me for my brother's social security number because he needs to use it to get this woman a car. I fought with my dad about it, then I called him in tears to apologize. But I still refuse to give him any of our social security numbers because I don't want to be tied to this woman. Last night I was drunk and alcohol got the better of me. I went through my dad's phone last night and I saw texts from his girlfriend. And it seems like she's always asking when I'm coming over. Is your daughter over today? And I'm thinking, what the duck is up with her asking if I'm over and putting winky faces? Then I scroll and see her asking about him buying her a car again. My dad texts back, I haven't had a chance to talk to Jimmy's dad yet, but I'll meet with him, honey. And my heart sunk into my stomach. My boyfriend Jimmy comes from a very wealthy family, and my dad wants to have my boyfriend's father buy this woman a car. Either that or co-sign. My dad has mentioned this to me before, and I can't believe that he actually told this woman that my boyfriend's father would help her get a car. I feel sick. I obviously won't tell my boyfriend, and I'm glad that my dad doesn't have my boyfriend's dad's number. But I feel sick and upset. I need to confront my dad and tell him that under no circumstances will he ask my boyfriend's dad to help buy this woman a car. But if I do, it will be a big problem. I don't want to start a fight on Thanksgiving, but I have to face this woman and her kids today, and I feel sick. Would I be the a-hole if I refuse to help with the car? My dad and his girlfriend and her family will think I'm a spoiled brat and that I'm trying to destroy my dad's happiness. I want my dad to be happy, but I don't want anything to do with getting this woman a car, and I refuse to let them ask my boyfriend's father. Not the a-hole, and you and your siblings need to start monitoring your credit. Like yesterday. He was trying to use your brother's social security number behind his back? Hell no. Also, warn your boyfriend that your dad may ask for his dad's contact info and tell him why. He is entitled to know. Lastly, you don't need to specifically address the asking your boyfriend's dad thing, but you do need to clearly say you and anyone connected to you will not be helping him buy a car for her or provide any other financial assistance. He is a grown man and needs to manage his relationship and financial happiness all by himself. One minor thing, don't go through your dad's phone. That's really not okay. Not the a-hole. Your dad asked you to commit a crime. He knows his credit is shot, will be shot, and won't afford the car. Your dad is probably desperate for love, but that does not excuse trying to use your kid's social security number for a car loan. Start a fight over this. Your dad is behaving unacceptably and needs to be put in his place. You're not a spoiled brat for refusing to lend your or your sibling's credit score so he can trash it, buying this gold digger what she wants. Not the a-hole, and you need to tell your boyfriend. Let him be the one to decide whether or not to tell his dad. But I'm telling you, just because your dad doesn't have his number now, doesn't mean he won't get it soon. You can find numbers on the internet and addresses. What your dad and his girlfriend are trying to pull is identity fraud by using other social security numbers. And the fact that they think nothing of that is scary. Do not let them guilt trip you into signing anything either. There is no good outcome for that. I, 27 female, and my boyfriend, 28 male, have been dating for almost 2 years, and sometimes we're talking about the future. He just graduated from a 3-year non-degree program and got his first job. His starting salary is only 1/3 of my current salary. I was born in a poor family and had to rely on scholarship for my college. I worked hard my whole life to come out of that. I had 5 years of working experience in a pretty big blue-chip company that pays me decent. I can afford a car, holiday overseas every year, weekend getaway almost every month, and still manage to save 60% of my salary. It is comfortable to live as single with no mortgage, but it's tight for family. So on date night, he asked me if I see our relationship last. I told him sometimes I don't. I explained that I've been through poverty and I'm not interested to go through that again. I want to keep my current lifestyle. I made a rough calculation in front of him about how much money we would need to own a fancy house. At least cost $800 to $1 million USD here in my country. Save for future kids' education and manage a comfortable lifestyle. In the next year, I'll have my savings for 50% of the down payment for the house and need my partner to cover the other 50%. I need him to earn at least the same as me. He was surprised with my answer. Then I asked him, do you have a timeline or strategy to go from your current salary to what we need? He said he probably will never be able to, since he doesn't have a degree. Our country's stats say non-degree holders would not even reach my current salary after 20 years of working. I told him, get a degree. You can take night classes for 2 years. I'll wait. He told me he doesn't like studying. I offered to chip in for his study, even though his parents can help. He refused. He said, I will work hard, After my office hours, I will do delivery jobs so I can earn more. At this point, I was very frustrated, and I said, then you wouldn't have time for our relationship. Or if we're married, you wouldn't have the time to be a husband or father. That delivery service isn't going to last forever. Drone would replace human in the future. I don't know if your finance is something I can live with or something that is a deal breaker. I love you now, but I might hate you in the future because of this. I felt very bad. I know if the situation is reversed and I'm the guy, I'd sound like a big a-hole, but I really am scared to live with less again. I don't want my kids to suffer. I'd rather not have children if they have to suffer. But I love him, I do. He's very sweet and never raises his voice at me and supports my career. I'd marry him in a heartbeat if the future doesn't look bleak for us. He's been very quiet the past few days. Not a silent treatment, but I feel there's something wrong with us after our last conversation. Am I the a-hole for telling him all this? Am I wasting my time with him? You're the a-hole, not because of your standards, but because you waited so long to tell him. There is nothing wrong with having standards for what you want in your partner, no matter how unrealistic they may be. However, you've been with this guy for 2 years, knowing it won't work out because of his finances. He lost 2 years of his life thinking that you might be the one for him, while you sat on this bombshell. This conversation should have happened a long time ago. Dude, you are not an a-hole for thinking like this. You're the a-hole for telling him that way. Since the moment he told you he doesn't want to get a degree, it was your cue to, in silence, analyze the relationship, your feelings, the probable resentment, and maybe break it off, because love is not enough and you already know what you need besides love. Why do you need a fancy house and fancy cars? Why do you need to live a luxurious lifestyle to not feel poor? I think your expectations are too high and unrealistic, and if you want a future with anyone, your current significant other or another future partner, you may want to reevaluate what's truly important in life. I'll give you a hint. Fancy houses are not it. You're the a-hole. Seems like this guy will never be good enough for you. For his own sake, set him free. Edit. Those calling me gold digger. The first rule of gold digging is finding someone who earns way more than you do, so you can sit and shop, not the equal. Edit 2. I had a glass-shattering moment when I read the replies. There are people calling me toxic, only want him for his money. I know these words get thrown around easily, so I got a bit defensive and was writing my replies on the things I've done for him. 1. I paid for our dates. He spends 50% of his salary for his car and fishing. 2. I paid for his travel whenever he wants to join my business trip. I suspect this is also why he supports my career. 3. He was in huge debt when I first dated him. He owned 3 motorcycles and a car, so I had to make the payment plan. I told him which motorcycle to sell to pay for his debts and some other refinancing stuff. Now he owns 1 motorcycle, 1 car, and debt-free. 4. I'm always the one who buys gifts. 5. I let him use my stuff all the time for his school. He could buy a laptop, but he bought fishing gear instead. Holy crap, he's been treating me like his sugar mama. He doesn't have a clue about finance at all. That's why he was so taken aback, and he doesn't want things to change. And my bad, I never once complained, so he thinks it's okay. So yesterday I had a talk with him again. I asked his plan about housing. He was the one suggested us to get more serious. So his plan was we move in with his parents in their house. What the duck? While waiting for us to get our own apartment. I mean, I don't mind to live with his parents, but they have to move in with me, under my house rules, not the other way around. So, we broke up. If I were to marry him, I'll be the one taking care of the finances, housework, his parents, probably the kids too. Just no. What is he going to bring into our marriage then? I dated him because he was so fun to be around, and he's a kind man. The bar is quite low. Other notes. Lots of you seem baffled at the mention of $800 to $1 million apartment. I don't know how things are in your country, but here are my options. 1. Buy a $400,000 apartment, but I had to wait 2 years to collect the key, and another 30 months before I can apply, since I just disposed my property overseas. So, total, we have to wait 4 to 5 years. I'm ruling out this option. 2. Buy a $600,000 to $700,000 resale apartment that can only be used for 40 to 50 years. If we live until 80 years, we'll be damned. Also, this one needs hefty renovations that could cost over $50,000. 3. The executive apartment, which priced from $800K onwards. This is the only logical option for us. Oh yeah, I can buy my own executive apartment. The one-bedroom price is around $650K. I just need to save another 1.5 years and I'm all set. Also, giving somebody options to further their study isn't forcing them to become somebody they're not. I see it as me giving him opportunity. I mentioned it only in one conversation. He didn't even think about it. If somebody says they're going to help me pay my study, hell yeah, I'd say yes. I always hated my nose from a young age, but I had a nose job in my early 20s. When I married my husband, who also was not blessed with great nose genes, I knew my kids didn't have much hope. I decided that if my kids decided they wanted to change their nose, the money and support would be there. I want to be clear, I never told my children they had a bad nose. My son is completely fine with his nose, but my daughter, from a young age, like myself, decided she did not like her nose. Of course, I told her she was beautiful and reassured her, but as someone who has gone through it, it's patronizing and annoying. So I told her when she was old enough she could get a nose job and I would fully support it. She is 17 currently. She has a consultation next week. She's very excited, and I'm happy that she's happy. My husband was iffy at first, but he also supports her choice. I've met lots of bad reactions, telling me I'm shallow and a bad mother, and caused her to hate herself. I feel like people meet plastic surgery with a lot of hostility, but it's not like I'm forcing it on her, and it's not like she's getting a ton done, just something that may help her feel better. I'm letting her get it done young because the only regret I have about changing my nose is not doing it sooner. I'm not making her wait years for something she knows she wants, as I want her to feel her best self, especially while she is young. My sister was furious and called me a bad mother, saying she only hates her nose because I changed my nose, and now she wants to. But I changed my nose before she was even born, so she didn't even know until after she first told me she disliked her nose. My sister refuses to speak to me. My mom sees where both of us are coming from. I want to gather others' opinions on this, if there would be any benefit of making her wait. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, but why are you telling people your plans? It's none of their business. It's your child's business, and you should not be spreading it around for commentary. She goes, gets a rhinoplasty. People see it when it's done. It's like you're giving people ammunition. Stop it. You don't need their approval. All that matters is your daughter is happy with it and wants to do it. I don't know. Even though you say you've never made her feel bad about her nose, your eager approval to get her a nose job is an unspoken validation of her insecurities itself. Also, she's still 17, and her face isn't fully grown yet. She's still learning what hairstyles, makeup look good on her, and more importantly, she has so much potential to learn how to love herself. No a-holes. You're not necessarily an a-hole, but you might be making the wrong decision for your child. A nose job for someone that young is kind of a huge deal. You're the a-hole. Most 17-year-olds have noses that have grown in before their faces have caught up. My own daughter had the same issue, but she did grow into her nose, and it sits in balance with her face at age 30. I think you are projecting onto her, but it has nothing to do with anyone else, and you shouldn't overshare. So, my mother-in-law has been giving my brother-in-law $50,000 USD to buy a house, and for the upcoming baby. I've not said anything, even though we have gotten nothing. I'm very well aware that this is her money, and she can spend it however she likes. She promised us a new washer and dryer, and changed it to, no, that will be in the next house. My husband graduated and she promised him $1,000, but then changed her mind about it and said, I will help you with the next house. Just insane empty promises like that. I've not really let it bother me at all, seeing as it's not really my money. It bothers my husband a lot though, and he has officially gone no contact with her since this Christmas. Me and her have been very close, but when I moved to the USA, however, I have a demanding job and no time for her, but always very sweetly talk to her and text her. She expects 1-hour phone calls, and I try to give those to her as much as possible. My sister-in-law, in contrast, is really rude to her, and even yelled at her. They barely have any relationship, and I have to give it to my sister-in-law for keeping my mother-in-law so whipped. Good for her. What really bothers me is that my mother-in-law makes us buy Amazon stuff for her and say she would repay us, and never would. This is like $1,000 worth of stuff. Every time I have asked my husband, he would not ask for the money. So, after Christmas, where she lowballed me on my and my husband's Christmas gift and gave my sister-in-law and brother-in-law a lot more, I was sick and tired of it. I texted her saying no more Amazon stuff and that she lowballed me on our Christmas gifts and never repays us on the Amazon stuff we buy. If you're not going to give us anything, don't take from us either. She read all of them and has not responded. My husband has blocked her, but at this point, I've decided that she cannot come to my graduation. I am so thankful she has stopped messaging me and wasting my time. Am I being cheap and immature? Would you say my mother-in-law is in the wrong, or am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Maybe you should take a page out of sister-in-law's book and try treating mother-in-law like crap. Maybe then she'll finally treat you well. I'm going to go with not the a-hole, as long as you communicated your intent with your husband. From his reaction, it sounds like you did well by him and that he approves of your actions. I think you mentioned a few things that you rightly stated are not your business, aka her favoritism on her end. As you said, it's her money. However, she seems to constantly go back on her word in a dishonest way. She promised you certain presents and took her promise back. Doesn't sound like she even discussed it with you. And to be honest, I find her owing you money worst. I definitely think she deserved a wake-up call. Good for you for putting your foot down where your husband couldn't.